Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to explain how to define the conditions in the template and how to define the outputs. So, how to define the conditions and how to define the outputs in AWS CloudFormation template. For this topic, I'm going to launch one EC2 machine. So for that, I would require one VPC and one subnet. In that, I want to launch one EC2 machine. So this is the EC2 machine I would like to launch. Okay. So in the same availability zone where the EC2 machine is launched, I would like to create one volume. So based on the conditions, so if I select S, I would like to attach this volume to this EC2 machine. Okay. And I want to define one more security group, that is allow port number 22. You can define anything, allow port number 22. So based on the condition, if I select S option, so I want to allow this security group to this VPC. Okay, these are the things I want to define in my topic today. So for that, let me open the template. Through this template, I will explain each and everything. Okay, for that, I'm going to take the anatomy of the AWS CloudFormation template. So here I'm going to use Yaml language. So hence I'm copy this YAML template. Okay, let me copy and paste in my template. So here I'm going to define the version of this one. This is the only version supported by the AWS CloudFormation 09 and 09. Okay, description, you can give any description. In YAML language, you can use this syntax to allow multiple lines of the description. So today I'm going to explain how to define conditions in CloudFormation template and explain how to define output section. Okay, so metadata I want to define in the later section. It's a very easy one. Parameters I will to define some parameters. Rule I don't want to use now, and mapping also I don't want to use. So today I'm going to explain the condition section. Okay, and the transformation also I would don't require. A resource I want to require in this section. Okay, now as discussed, so first I want to launch one EC2 machine. For that, I want to require one VPC and subnets. For that, I want to use the AWS specific parameters to get a default VPC ID. Okay. So here I'm going to define one parameter name called large VPC ID. That type of this parameter is string. So here I'm going to use the AWS specific parameters. So for that AWS. So this is the AWS specific type of parameter. So which is going to return the existing VPC IDs. So let me show you the documentation for this one. See, these are the AWS specific parameters. which is going to return the AWS resource IDs and subnets. So here I'm going to define the VPC ID. Okay, just copy and put it in your template. Okay, after that I want to define one more parameter for our subnet. So the type of subnet would be, so here I'm going to use the list type of subnet type. It is going to it is going to return the available existing subnet IDs, which is allow us to select one or more subnets when you are using list type of parameters. Okay. After that, I want to create EBS value for this EC2 instance. For this, based on the condition, suppose if you select true, it is going to create EBS value. For that, I want to define one parameter for true or false. For that, I'm going to use allowed EBS option. You can give any name for this parameter. I want to use type string and allowed values for this option true or false. Okay, that means if you select allowed EBS option parameter true, it is going to create one EBS value. So that's, if you select false, it is not going to create EBS value. That's what I want to explain from here. Okay, so for that I want to create one condition. So in the condition section, you can give the logical idea of the condition name first. Okay, so you can give any name, allowed EBS value. This is the logical idea of this condition. So here I'm going to use one intrinsic function called equals. So it is going to compare this allowed EBS value parameter option. Okay, that's why I'm using this parameter here using reference function. And this allowed EBS option return one value that is going to be compare our value that is true. Okay, let me copy this. So what is going to be here? This parameter value going to return one value called true. Okay, and this value is compared to this true value. Suppose if you select false here, from the availability options, suppose there are two values are passing, one is true and one is false. In this case, if you select false, it is going to compare this true value. So in this case, the both values are not equal. So using this equal operator, it is going to be compared. So in this case, those two values are not equal. Hence, the condition will false. But if you select true option, it is going to be compare with the true option here, and these two values are equal. Then the condition will be executed. That's what I wanted to explain here. Okay. So in the resource section, let me create one EC2 instance. I want to give logical ID for this one is EC2. You can give any logical ID for this EC2 instance. Let me copy the type of this resource and properties of this resource would be, I want to define image ID. So let me copy the image ID from my AWS account. So let me copy the image ID from my AWS account. For that, I'm going to EC2. After that, you have to click on launch instance where you can get the image ID from here. So just I'm going to copy the image ID from here, and I'm going to put in my language instance type T2 micro I'm going to use here. Okay. So I'm going to create the security groups as well for this one. So let me define the security groups for this one. So I want to use the security groups for this property, and so let me define the security groups as well for this one. Okay. Okay. First, let me comment this one. Let me create the EBS value for this. After that, we can go ahead and create the security group for this. Okay. So here I'm going to create the EBS value. Size. I want to use 10 and availability zone also. So availability zone. So as we discussed, when you launch EC2 mission here, in the same availability zone, we should define the EBS value. Then only we can attach this EBS value to this EC2 mission. Okay. For that, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to use one function called f get at attribute. So this is going to be return the resource attribute value. Okay. So for this, what I'm going to use my resource here, I'm going to use my resource. This is the resource I want to use. So EC2 instance, and I want to get the availability zone. Okay. Suppose if you check the EC2 instance return values here. Okay. You can get that return values using fn get at function. Okay. So here I want to get the availability zone, same availability zone. What is this? Not security group. I want to check for the EC2 mission. Okay. Okay. This is the return values. See, this is the fn get function attribute. It is going to get the availability zone. Okay. When EC2 mission going to be return some of the return values, those are IDs, private DNS, and availability zone. So if you scroll down, private IP, public DNS, these are the return values of this EC2 instance. So to get the availability zone, I'm using fn get function. Okay. So the same attribute I'm going to define here. Okay. That means in the same EC2 mission availability zone, I'm going to create the EBS value. That's what I want to explain here. After that, I want to define the tags for this one. Okay, not a point. So after that, once we create the EBS value, you have to attach this EBS value to the EC2 mission. For that, I'm going to create one more resource called EBS value attachment. The type of resource is AWS volume attachment and properties of this one. So we would require volume ID and EC2 mission instance ID. So let me copy those two IDs, instance ID, and I want to refer this resource using reference intrinsic function, okay? And volume ID, for this volume ID, I want to refer this resource, EBS volume, okay? So after that, I want to define the device type, that is EBS volume device type. Okay, that's it. Now let me explain. So here I want to define one condition. So for that condition, I want to allow user options. You can give any name for this one, true or false. Okay. If user selected true value here, the EBS value would be assigned to this EC2 machine. If the user select false value, that means user don't want to attach this EBS value to this EC2 machine. For that, I want to define one condition, that is allowed EBS values. Okay. Based on these true options, true or false, this condition is going to be executed. Okay. This condition is going to compare two values, that is user option selected a true and this value. Okay. Now let me call that condition, this condition, in my resource. So let me define here condition. The same condition logical name I'm going to call here. Okay. The same way attachment also. If the user wants to select a true option, then only this condition will execute. If it is true, this value attachment will be attached this to EC2 mission. That's what I'm going to select here. Okay. After that, I want to define one security group for this one. So the security group allow port number 88. Let me create the security group resource first. You can give any logical ID for this resource. Okay. Let me show you the documentation for this security group. I don't want anymore this one. Okay, let me, yeah, this is the security group I want to use. The type of this resource would be security group, and properties for this security group would be group discussion is compulsory. So this is the mandatory one. If you go to the example of this one, you can get the group discussion is the mandatory option. Okay. So here from the security group I want to allow port number 80. Okay. After that I want to define the VPC ID. So here I want to refer the VPC. We already defined one as the VPC parameter. I want to use the same parameter name over here. Okay. After that, I want to define the input in port number. For this, I am going to copy this entire thing and put it in our indentation is compulsory. Follow the Yaml format. So here I'm going to use port number 80. Okay, this is security group. I want to allow attach this security group to my EC2 resource. For that already I defined security group IDs property. Now I'm going to refer this one. Okay. So as discussed, I want to allow port number 22, right? Allow port in number 22. For this, I want to give option to user to select true or false. For that, I want to define one parameter, allow security port 22. If user select true, this 22 port will be assigned to this EC2 machine. If user selected false, this port number will not be attached to. So this port number will not be attached this EC2 mission. Okay, for that I want to define one condition over here in the condition section. Go to condition section and define the logical ID for this condition. Okay, allow SSH port. You can give any name, not a problem. Here I'm going to use my logical name as per my requirement. The same equal function I'm going to use to compare the user option here. So already, okay, let me define one more parameter for user selections. Okay, allowed port or SSH port. You can give any name for this parameter. The type of this parameter would be string, and I want to define the same allowed values here, true or false. If user is selected true, then the security group SSH22 will be added to our EC2 machine. So for that I'm going to compare this user option using reference function. Okay. If user is selected true and that value would be equal to true, then only this condition is going to be executed. So let me call this. So to define the port SSH22, I want to create one more security group. For that, I am going to call this copy and paste. From the HTTP port, I am copying the resource and I am put the SH port 22. So here I am going to change the port number as well. So based on my condition, this should create, right? Or else you can refer this security group. This is SSH port. Okay. Allow this security group. So for resource EC2, so here you can call if function. If the condition is true, what is that? This is allowed access port is true, then you can attach this SSH security group. Okay. So what I'm going to say here is if the condition is true, I want to attach this security group. What that is? Allow SSH security group. If false, there is one more pseudo parameter called, let me put it in single quotes, AWS no value. So what it is going to tell is if the condition is true, it is going to attach the port number 22. If the condition is evaluated false, then it is not going to attach any port. There is a one pseudo parameter called AWS no value. It is going to return null value. Okay. So, okay. Now I want to define this is how you are going to define the conditions. Now I'm going to define the outputs. This section would be defined after resources section. Okay. Let me, so in the output section, define the output logical name for any resource. From the outputs, I want to return the instance ID. For that, I have defined my resource, my EC2. For that, I'm going to return my EC2 instance ID. So you can give any logical ID for this output, and value have to define. For this output, you can refer. Here I'm going to return the my EC2 instance ID. So for my my EC2 instance resource, I want to return the EC2 instance ID. For that, I defined one output. For that output value, it is going to get that using reference function. Okay, let me save this and execute. So here, let me go to the CloudFormation and create stack. So now upload this template, testing template I created here, testing YAML template. I'm going to upload the same template. Okay, let me click on next. So here it is giving some error. YAML not format 2021. Let me check that. Let me re-upload the same template. Somewhere I got one more error, properties. So let me define that one. Somewhere hidden property. So here I define the property types wrong. So make sure that correct namings. Let me re-upload the same template. Let me call next. I got one more error, EC2 subnet ID. Okay, let me, I given one space, that's why it is giving error. Let me re-upload the template again. So now enter stack name, testing EC2 conditions. You can give any stack name over here and parameters. See, if you want to allow the EBS volume option true, then the EBS volume created and attach it to EC2 mission. If you select false, So then EBS value will not be created and not able to attach to that EC2. So here I'm going to show you true option. The same way allowed SS port 22. If you select 22, it is going to create EBS value, sorry, SS port, and it is attached to EC2 machine. So here I'm going to allow subnets, and so click on next and submit. So this will take some more time. Let me pause this video and come back once the stack is completed. Our stack execution is completed. So let me show you the resource for this one, what we have created. Okay, these are the resources we have created. Let me click on my EC2 instance resource. If you observe this, just click on this. See, for these security groups, we have allowed port number 22 and port number 80. Here we assign, if you refer the template, we have attached allowed port number 22 and allowed port number this one. Based on the condition only, we have attached this port number 22. And if you check the volumes, if you see this, there are two values. One is the default value which is created when the EC2 machine is created, and based on the condition, we have created one more EBS value and attached it to this EC2 resource, right? So this is how you are going to define the conditions in the AWS CloudFormation template. So thank you, and let me show you the outputs as well. See, so here in the output section, we have defined one output and we did get it the instance ID from this output. The output will be showing over here. Okay, thank you for watching.